Can you score 5 out of 5? Answer before I reveal. Welcome everyone to today's session. We're diving into MPPSC SET Economics practice questions. I'm excited to guide you through this engaging and challenging material. Over the next few slides, we'll explore key topics, test your knowledge, and help you prepare effectively. Let's get started. All right, let's take a look at this question. Who introduced the concept of revealed preference in consumer behavior? As you can see, we have 4 options here. First Robertson, then P.A. Samuelson, next J.R. Hicks, and finally Alfred Marshall. Now, the key thing to remember is that revealed preference is a fundamental concept in understanding how consumers make choices. It helps us infer preferences based on actual choices rather than stated preferences. Among these options, the correct answer is P.A. Samuelson. He was the one who formally introduced and developed the theory of revealed preference, which has become a cornerstone in consumer theory. So, the important takeaway here is that Samuelson's contribution revolutionized how economists analyze consumer behavior by focusing on observable choices. This concept ties into the overall theme of understanding decision-making processes in economics, making Samuelson's work a pivotal point in this area. Revealed preference theory, introduced in 1938, was developed by Paul A. Samuelson. This theory focuses on understanding consumer behavior by analyzing actual market choices rather than relying on psychological utility. Essentially, it looks at what consumers actually choose when faced with different options, which helps us understand their preferences more reliably. This approach shifts the focus from what people say they want to what they actually choose in real-world situations. It's a key concept because it grounds consumer theory in observable actions, making our analysis more concrete and practical. So, when studying consumer behavior, Samuelson's revealed preference theory provides a solid foundation by emphasizing real choices over hypothetical preferences. All right, so let's consider what happens to a firm operating under imperfect competition with free entry in the long run. Now, depending on the firm's profitability and the market conditions, different outcomes can occur. If the firm is making a normal profit, it means it's covering all its costs, including the opportunity cost, and there's no incentive for new firms to enter or existing firms to exit the market. However, if there's large excess capacity, the firm isn't producing at the most efficient scale, which suggests underutilized resources and potential for expansion if conditions change. When a firm earns abnormal profit, it's making more than just a normal return, which could attract new entrants into the market, increasing competition. And finally, if the firm is experiencing losses, it may need to scale down or exit the market altogether in the long run. So, the key takeaway here is understanding how these different profit states influence market dynamics and firm behavior over time within imperfect competition. Although there is excess capacity in the market, the key point to remember is that the equilibrium profit tends to be normal. When we say profit becomes normal, we're referring to zero economic profit, meaning firms are earning just enough to cover all their costs, including opportunity costs. In the long run, the entry of new firms into the market tends to reduce demand for any individual firm's product, which pushes profits down to a normal level. So, even if in the short run there might be some abnormal profit, meaning profits above the normal level, in the long run, market dynamics restore that normal profit level. This is especially relevant under monopolistic competition, where firms sell differentiated products but still face competition. The most important concept here is that, despite potential short-term gains, the competitive nature of the market drives profits down to a normal profit level in the long run. And that's why the correct answer here is D, normal profit, or zero economic profit. It highlights that, over time, firms tend to earn just enough to stay in the market without making excess profits. All right, let's take a closer look at this slide. The key message here is to think carefully about how firms operate in perfect competition over the long run. First, notice the different levels of output shown. At point A, we have less than the optimum level. This means the firm isn't producing enough to maximize its potential profit or efficiency. Moving to point B, that's the optimum level of output, where the firm is operating most efficiently, balancing costs and revenues perfectly. Then, at point C, we see more than the optimum level. Here, the firm is producing beyond the ideal point, which can lead to increased costs and inefficiencies. And finally, at point D, the firm is forced to close down. This typically happens if the firm cannot cover its variable costs, meaning continuing operations would lead to bigger losses. So, under perfect competition, in the long run, a firm aims to operate at that optimum level, point B, where it can sustain profits without the risk of shutdown. It's a delicate balance, and understanding these levels helps us grasp how firms make decisions in a competitive market. Now, on this slide, we're looking at how a firm produces at the minimum cost, which is also known as productive efficiency. This is where the firm is operating at the most efficient point, producing the optimal level of output. When we say the firm produces at the minimum average cost, or AC, that means P equals the minimum point on the AC curve. Additionally, at this point, the price, P, equals the marginal cost, MC, and also equals the marginal revenue, Mr. This equality is crucial because it indicates the firm is maximizing profit or minimizing losses in the long run under perfect competition. In the context of long-run perfect competition, the key concept here is the optimum level of output. It's the point where the firm is perfectly balancing production costs and revenue, ensuring efficiency. So to sum up, the correct answer here is that the firm operates at this optimum level, where all these conditions, cost minimization and equalization of P, MC, and Mr., are met, leading to productive efficiency in the long run. All right, so here we have a question about interdependence among firms, and the options are monopolistic competition, oligopoly, perfect competition, and monopoly. Now, the key idea here is that interdependence means that the decisions of one firm affect the others, and vice versa. This is especially true in markets where firms are aware of each other's actions and must consider those actions when making their own decisions. For example, in an oligopoly, a few large firms dominate the market, and they are highly interdependent. If one firm changes its prices or introduces a new product, the others are likely to react. That's what makes oligopolies so interesting. They're characterized by this strategic interdependence. On the other hand, in perfect competition, firms are so numerous, and their products so similar that no single firm has much influence over the market. They act independently because their decisions don't really impact one another. Similarly, in monopolies, there's only one firm, so interdependence among firms doesn't really come into play because there are no competitors to consider. Lastly, monopolistic competition involves many firms offering differentiated products, but each still operates somewhat independently, although they might be affected by the actions of others to some extent. So, when we're talking about interdependence among firms, the most accurate answer here is oligopoly. It's the market structure where firms are most aware of and reactive to each other's decisions. That's a crucial concept because it influences how firms strategize and compete within that market. Decision-making in many markets isn't done in isolation. Instead, it's interdependent, meaning that each firm has to consider how its rivals might react to its own actions. This makes strategic choices more complex because you're always thinking a few steps ahead. In such scenarios, you'll notice that few firms tend to dominate the market. They hold significant market power because their decisions influence the entire industry. When we look at this within the context of market structures, this setup is characteristic of an oligopoly. Here, a small number of firms control the majority of the market share, and their interactions shape the competitive landscape. Understanding this interdependence helps us grasp why firms might engage in strategic behaviors like price setting, advertising, or innovation, knowing that these moves will impact and be impacted by their rivals. So, as you can see, decision-making in an oligopoly is a delicate balance, with each firm carefully considering the potential reactions of its competitors before taking action. All right, here's the final question for today. Let's explore the key points on this slide. First, when the average cost, or AC, is rising and the marginal cost, or MC, is greater than AC, it indicates that costs are increasing with output. This typically means we're moving past the optimal point. Next, when AC is falling and the short-run marginal cost, SMC, is less than the short-run average cost, SAC, this suggests that producing additional units is reducing the average cost. It's a sign we're still on the downward slope of the cost curve. Then we see the point where SAC, SMC, LAC, and LMC are all equal. This is a critical point because it represents the minimum point of the short-run and long-run cost curves, where efficiency is maximized. Finally, when AC equals MC, we reach the optimal level of output in cost theory. This is the sweet spot where the cost per unit is minimized, and producing one more unit would not lower or raise the average cost. Connecting these points to the overall theme, understanding these relationships helps us identify the most cost-efficient level of production, which is vital for making sound business decisions. So, the key takeaway here is that the optimum output is where AC and MC intersect. This slide illustrates the concept of productive efficiency. When we're at this point, the average cost is at its minimum. This is crucial because it means the firm is producing at the lowest possible cost per unit. Here, the key point is that at the optimum output, marginal cost equals average cost. This equality indicates that the firm is operating most efficiently, balancing the cost of producing one more unit with the average cost of all units produced so far. So the correct answer here is A, AC equals MC. This condition signifies that the firm has reached its most efficient level of production, where resources are being used optimally without any waste. Understanding this helps us see how firms can identify the most efficient point on their cost curves, which is essential for maximizing profitability and competitiveness in the market. Let's take a moment to connect with you all on social media. You can find me at Commerce 360 Biter Pale Jane, where I share daily MPPSC SET Economics questions to help you prepare effectively. If you're serious about your exam prep, I encourage you to subscribe and stay updated with the latest questions. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Please comment your score below. How many questions did you get correct? This is a great way to track your progress and stay motivated. Remember, every attempt helps you improve. So keep practicing, stay engaged, and let's keep pushing toward our goal of mastering economics for the MPPSC SET. Good luck to everyone, and I look forward to seeing your scores.